some concerns about a number of things that are happening within the school board, and that there are a lot of accusations among board members of you're doing this wrong and you're doing that wrong and you're doing this wrong. And I think at this time I'd just like to say maybe we all need to take a collective breath and realize, with all of the best intentions in the world, we are all trying to do our best, and it is very difficult when every step you take, someone is saying you're taking the wrong step, when our true intention, when all of us chose to serve, was to serve our community. And I just, when Mr. Liscars put this on, I was in favor of it, and when he requested it to be withdrawn, I asked for it to stay on the agenda so that that could be stated. Yes, Mr. Pearl.
I would agree with you, Mrs. Corpus. And one of the things that concerns me regarding the specifics is when Mr. Liscar gave us an FYI that he was going to scan the policy book, you forwarded an email to the board informing him not to do it as the chair, that he would violate 6 policies. I took the time to read those policies and didn't find anything that was in violation, and I emailed you and asked you to provide more specific data. I never heard from you again.
That is
And
correct.
I don't think that it's responsible to throw out accusations of policy violation without some specific statements, especially after it's been asked by a school board member for you to state your specifics.
Yes, and I do not respond because according to RSA 91A semicolon 2, when two or board members are speaking, it's called deliberation, and we're not supposed to do that. So in any emails that are occurring between board members, I make it a policy, once 2 people have spoken, I am not the third person to speak, because I do not want to put this board in jeopardy of being accused of having online meetings, because that's what can happen.
Mrs. Corcus, do you stand behind your allegation of the 6 policy violations that you yourself posted on the email to the school board?
Yes, I do.
Okay. When are we going to deal with those?
If you'd like to deal with them now, we can deal with them right now.
Well, I think it's only fair to Mr. Liscars that since you have accused him of violating 6 policies because he intended to do something, that we deal with that and we either decide that he has violated those policies or that he has not.
We had also discussed that maybe policies should be an entirely separate meeting, as we are at 9:30 and have been here for 3 hours, that maybe there should be a special meeting where we discuss policies because it's on the agenda one more time. Is that something that the board is interested in, not interested in? The date that Mr. Liscars recommended was not a good date because Cheryl and I were in it separately, not together. We're both in attendance at an expo night that was scheduled at Memorial.
I would like you to either retract the allegations or spell them out. I think it's only fair once an allegation is made. I would do it if I made an allegation. I would tell you why.
Yes, Cheryl.
What determines an allegation exactly? I didn't think we were in the court of law. And as far as when I talked to Sarah Christina about all this, yes, these govern us, but there is no, unfortunately, no punishment, so to speak. Or so for me, it's just I think we all need to be much better aware of what we should and shouldn't be doing, and leave it at that, and know that we've all made mistakes, and try to come back and follow these policies accordingly. This idea of allegations and, you know, it just sounds more like a court of law rather than a board meeting of the school.
So I want to speak to this. I take my integrity very seriously. I take my elected position to this board very seriously. And I take allegations very seriously. As responsible board members, we need to, when we make an allegation, make sure we're making them for a reason. Chair Corcus made an allegation about something I did, which I believe is unfounded, and I think it's baseless. So I asked her politely to tell me what it was. When she laid out, you know, again, this is, I've only been to 2 meetings and I've got the chair of the board I've just been elected to telling me, please do not copy this manual without a vote of the Hooksett School Board. Do so will put you in violation of policies BVAA, AFA, BBD, BGC, BGE, BCA, and BBBD. That sounds pretty darn serious to me. And so since I had done nothing wrong, I wanted to know from the chair what it was. She refused to answer me.
And I have stated, because it would.
Ma'am, I have the floor right now, please. The other thing I have a problem with is how this agenda item was added tonight. Again, the last meeting, and I'm listening, I'm learning, and I take action. That's what I do. The last board meeting, these same board members were saying our board meetings were going on too long. I tried to take a proactive approach. I said we had multiple people wanting to talk about school board policy and policy BCA. Why don't we have a special meeting and we'll just talk about that one issue because everybody has a lot to say. That was my recommendation. I'm trying to work with this board, and I feel like every time I try to work with this board, innuendos are made, people don't say all of the facts that are out there, and they tend to paint me into some picture doing things that I'm not doing. So if you're going to accuse me, I want to know what it is I've done wrong so that I can let you know why I haven't done it wrong. Otherwise, as I offered to you, if you potentially made a mistake, simply apologize. And I've already told you, I will accept your apology so this board can move on. I've already shown that I can do this. Thank you.
Cheryl.
I heard a request or point of information to you. I did not hear an allegation at all within that email.
Frankly, for those of you that don't know what's all in all of those policies, it doesn't really matter. Because if you have an understanding of the New Hampshire law, that book is a public document. You cannot write a policy in that blue book that supersedes RSA 193A. So anybody that wants to scan that book can scan that book. It doesn't matter if we write a
It's not a
policy.
scanned document on Mr. Liscar's website.
Excuse me. Mr. Liscar said in the email, I plan to scan the book and put it on my website. The law absolutely protects that and supersedes any policy created by this board.
It is,
Period.
it is not a scanned document. It is it is a document from the SAU office.
Mr. Liscar said he was going to scan the book, which is in his possession and is a public document.
But what is on his website is not a scanned copy of the document.
That is not what that is not why you allegedly, that is not why you accused him of that. At the point, he said, I'm going to scan the book. You said, do not scan the book, you're going to violate 6 policies. That is not true.
This board made a vote not to make it, not to do it at that time, and he sent an email, he was going to scan it, which is
No, we did not. We failed to vote to have the superintendent do it.
And
We
that
did
was
not
the
vote not to
board.
do it. And this board cannot vote to have anybody not do anything with a public document. If you do the vote, it doesn't matter. You can say this is secret. It doesn't matter because it's not. Because this New Hampshire state law supersedes us. So why don't we just end this and say, the state law supersedes it, there are no policy violations, and let's move on.
Yes, Mr. Liscar.
Madam Chair, again, the devil is in the details here. Our meeting minutes say what our motion was, what we voted on. The motion got voted down. And as you know, there's plenty of email communication to show that I was very upfront telling everybody what I was gonna do. I was gonna ask the citizens, hey, I wanna get this up on the website so everybody can see this public document. And the point is, the original motion was to direct Superintendent Littlefield and his office to scan the document and then post it on the official website. That was the motion that failed. Okay, there was no motion made to not scan the document. Okay, it was directing them to do it, and I agreed with all of you that said we don't want to overload them. So I agreed with that. So what do? We got the documents and we put them up in less than an hour.
But it is not a scanned document on your website.
No, it's actually the original files that we're told did not exist. Even better.
And how did you obtain those documents, Mr. Lister?
So I'm going to ask you again, are you going to apologize, or do you want to tell me what I violated?
I feel that you violated the Hooksett School Board policies.
Tell me
Yes.
what specifically in the policy that I violated, Chair Corcus. You gave me the long list, I understand that, but now I want to know the specific in one of those policies.
You want just one, or you want all of them?
I want one to start with, I haven't got any at all yet.
Madam Chair, to move this meeting along, can we just stipulate, and you can ask for advice if you like, this policy can't supersede 91A. I mean, you can't.
I'm
You
not
can
sure what you
scan that
said.
book, the law
But it's not a
says,
scanned book.
it doesn't matter. He said he was going to scan the book.
Mhm.
You said you can't because you will violate these policies.
No.
That was the conversation. That conversation is invalid because, of course, he can scan the book. He's protected under the law. So the policy violations are irrelevant. Can't we move on and just say that? You can look all day in that book and you're not going to find something that supersedes the state law.
And what are you saying is a state law?
RSA 91A, it's the Right to Know Act that says any document that's public that can be discovered can be published, can be reproduced, can be whatever you want to do with it. We can't control any public document once we make it public. Those are public documents. They're discoverable under Right to Know Act. So this is a mute discussion.
It's a moot discussion. Can you please move on?
Absolutely. Moving on to item,
We're not done with policies.
we're done with BC, item Hooksett School Board Policy, BCA, it was specific. And then the next item is Hooksett
So
School Board Policy.
before we move on, Madam Chair, what is your position that Mr. Liscard, if he had scanned those documents, was violating those policies?
I feel he didn't, my interpretation at the time was that he did not, live within the will of the board. The board at that time didn't want it, and he wanted it, and he went and did it.
Accused him of violating 6 policies. Do you stand by that? Because I don't know how we move ahead if we just forget about it.
Correct.
Okay, I'm being forced into this now, but yes, I also agree that he should not have done this. It does go against the will of the board. I don't want to have to keep belaboring this. My point is we all have to use reasonableness in these policies. Was it a negative? Was it a detriment to our community? Absolutely not. It was helpful. I'm glad somebody was willing to step up and have it done. However, it should have been a board decision. All it had to do was to come back and say, I have somebody who is willing to do this. Let me do this, and I'm sure we all would have said, fine. We just didn't want to burden the administration. And it was just a notification. Just by the way, if you do this, it is going against, because we all can't just, if you don't like a vote, go and supersede it some way, find a way around it. It just shouldn't be done. But again, when I talked about Christina, it doesn't really, there is no punishment, there is no teeth to this. It's a policy we should all be adhering to, but there's no repercussions for it. And again, it wasn't a detriment, it wasn't negative to go and do it, so let's move on.
Mrs. Axton, it's easy for you to move on because the accusation wasn't directed at you, and you continue to spin with the way you're talking. You act as if I did something that this board voted on. You act as if I went against this board, and I stand firmly, I did not. And I will continue to say that until I hear an apology or somebody tells me exactly how I violated the motion that is in our minutes that directed the superintendent and his staff. I didn't do that. I was very clear I wasn't going to do that. I told you and this board, I supported this board's decision because of the reasons that went on that night. We didn't want to overburden them. It was sounding like it was going to take, I said 6 weeks. We gave them to the end of the summer. It still sounded like it was too much work. So I supported that, and you all know this because it was in the email. That's the beauty of email, folks. You can read the email. You can read the details of it. If this happened in a conversation or on the phone, it would be her word versus my word. This is my character as an elected representative that I stand firmly on. I either want an apology or I want to know specifically what I violated so that I can offer an apology if I have violated something. But when an accusation is made and a person's character is challenged, it has to be done. We both can't be right. And this is my character. I've been a resident in this community for a long time, and I have children in this community, and this is all public information. So you have to be careful when you launch something at somebody. So go on.
Mr. Liskars, when I sent the email to you, I felt that you were in violation of policy BCA 14 and 16. If that email to you was in haste, I apologize.
Madam Chair, was the email in haste? Or did you really understand the policy when you made that accusation? That's a half of an apology you just made to me. You said, I apologize if it was made in haste.
At the time that I sent it, I felt you were in violation of BCA 14 and 16. You asked for a specific, I'm giving you a specific.
And
That's
Madam
what I
Chair, after reviewing it now with some time to think about it, do you still feel the same way?
I still feel that you did not act, I still feel that it was not,
I want specifics. That's all I'm asking for, ma'am. I'm trying to be
I
polite.
feel that you vigorously supported this board. I understand now from Mr. Pearl that based on the state law that he has presented, the information from Derek, Christina, this is a guideline. Anybody can really go, we have no consequence. I'm apologizing if you were offended by my email. I believe, what I sent, I still believe to be the truth.
Madam Chair, a few months ago, when I told you that I was planning on talking to the teachers, you informed me that that would be in violation of the policy. You stated the policy. I looked the policy up, and you were absolutely correct, and I did not take that action. Here we have a new member that's been on here for 2 meetings. He sends you something informing you of what he's going to do. You tell him, don't do it, you're going to violate 6 policies, and you sign it as the chair of the school board. You're now kind of saying that it doesn't matter because of the state law. Why can't we just have a full apology and move on and you know, not be criticized by everybody for taking all night to talk about something? The state law is the state law. It doesn't matter what we do here.
Yes, Mr. Liskar.
Mr. Pearl, the only point I want to make is, regardless of the state law, I didn't do anything in violation of this board's decision that we made that night. I made that very clear to this board that I respected the decision we made that night. So even without that knowledge, Mr. Pearl, and I appreciate it, and I agree with it, but my point here is my character, that I did nothing wrong, I violated no policies. That's where I stand. And the chair appears to still think that there's something in that policy. And I want, again, I'm learning here, I want to know, I may need to make an apology if she can show me what it is I did violate.
Just gave you 2 examples that I think that you violated, BCA 14
Madam Chair.
and 16. And Mr. Pearl was saying it's not it's state law, it doesn't matter. And then you're saying it's not enough of an apology.
No. I'm making sure you're clear. on what it is you're accusing me of, because I haven't done anything wrong.
I think that it's very clear that the law supersedes the accusation. I think it's very clear that you were accusing him of, that if he continued, he would be violating those policies. The vote of the board that failed that night was to have Dr. Littlefield and the staff do it. That is not what John did. The vote was to put it on the school website. That is not what John did. So John did not go against the will of the board. John did not violate the policies. So why don't we just have an apology that you made a mistake, and then John can accept that, and we can move on to the next agenda item.
Maybe I'm missing something here, but that email did not sound like an accusation. It was informative. Prior to what he did, he didn't do it. After he did it, she didn't then make an accusation in an email saying that you did X, Y, and Z. To me, that was, this may possibly happen. That's how I read that email. That was prior to what you did. Then after you did do it, she didn't accuse you that you did something wrong. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I don't see where there's allegations of anything. She warned you that this may be in violation. Prior to you doing it, you did it. She didn't send another accusation out.
Yes, Mr. Masters.
Ma'am, maybe you need to read our agenda, because Chair Corpus actually added School Board Policy BCA, and she has stated here again publicly that I have violated, in her opinion,
In my
policy.
opinion.
Correct, and you're the chair of this board.
But you haven't explained to us what the violation is. You're saying it's not the will of the board. The vote that night was to have the superintendent do something. It failed. John didn't force the superintendent to do anything. He didn't even ask him to do anything. So why can't you just retract? You know, the public asked us to move on and focus on education. I'm all for that. But if we're going to get hung up on somebody that can't apologize, when clearly you made a mistake, I don't know how we ever move on. So I guess we're just going to sit here and talk about this all night long.
Or we agree to disagree, and we can move on.
That's a very easy thing to do, isn't it, Cheryl?
Right.
Because it's not being, you're not being
It's
accused.
not your character.
Well, I'll be the grown-up in the room. Mr. Whiskars, I apologize to you if you felt that my email was an accusation. I was trying to warn you that I felt.
Madam Chair, it's as simple as this. Mr. Liscars, I apologize to you. I made a mistake. I misinterpreted the policy. Will you accept my apologies? It's as simple as that. It's not an apology with loose ends that say ifs or buts or maybes.
This
It's
is
just
really
a simple
about
apology.
intimidation and not about an apology.
Excuse me, ma'am? I didn't hear that.
This is a humiliation. This isn't about an apology.
You're right, it is humiliation, and I'm feeling it from this chair and from you tonight, and I won't tolerate it. If I'm gonna be on here for 3 years, and I'm gonna be on here for 3 years, we're gonna treat each other with respect.
That is
All of
a
these
two-way
accu-
street, Mr.
Excuse me,
Whiskars.
ma'am, I have the floor. And you make it sound like I'm dragging the meeting or Mr. Pearl's dragging the meeting. The bottom line is, ladies, we are contributing to dragging these meetings. But if it's your character that's been attacked, you want some resolution to it. Apologies with open ends, apologies with if statements are not apologies. It's either apologize because I made a mistake, I was reading it quickly. Now that I've had a chance to look back over this, I understand you didn't violate the will of the board that night. Thank you. And I've already made this very clear. I'd be very happy to accept apology and move on.
Madam Chair. Do you now believe that he has not violated the policy? With everything you've heard? Because actually, he didn't even ever scan them. So we know he didn't violate the policy. I don't understand why we're hung up on having to do not just apologize. Everybody makes mistakes. Why can't you just apologize for the mistake? I've apologized to you for mistakes I've made.
Madam Chair, I just want to go on the record. I've only been here 2 meetings. I have apologized directly to Dr. Littlefield. Dr. Littlefield has apologized to me. It's not hard to do when you're conducting business. Sometimes we all make mistakes.
But I feel what you're asking me, and why I'm sitting here being quiet, is you're asking me to say that I don't think you violated. And I think you circumvented this board and the action of this board. Instead of coming, if you want an open dialogue, you're asking me to apologize, and I'm sitting here contemplating. I'm not taking this lightly. But it's the same thing, David, when I said something in a meeting that at the time I said in haste to you. And later I said, I can't take it back, I said it.
May I, Madam Chair?
Yes.
We have talked about how the state law supersedes it. We have talked about the will of the board that night, if it had passed, was to have the superintendent do the work. Mr. Liscars just informed us that what he was doing. Please indicate where you feel now is the possible violation, because I'm not seeing it, and I don't think anybody else is seeing it. So if it's not there, then let's apologize and move on. Is there a specific thing that
You
you...
stated two, and you
Okay.
don't think they're specific.
You
They're
said-
not enough. I
How-
say I'm sorry.
how did
and
he
you don't
violate
like
the
it.
will of the board?
Mr. Liscars, I apologize for my email,
Madam Chair, I fully
and that I
accept.
accused you of violating policy which is superseded by state law. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I accept your apology and I forgive you. I'd like to move on.